Welcome back, everybody, to Game 2 of Team Liquid versus Cloud9 after what was, again, another marathon match in the Dota 2 Champions League. We are finally getting into Game 2 in this best of 3, and we're going to see whether or not Team Liquid have a response to what Cloud9 did last game. Pretty much they were just unable to really pick up as much farm as Cloud9 did, especially with TC lacking a lot in that Slardar in the end. Cloud9 just able to outmaneuver them in the last 10 minutes of the match, and were able to take it in some serious fashion. But let me go ahead and welcome in my play-by-play for today. Is going to be Ayesee. He's going to be loading his golden voice to this Game 2 of Liquid versus Cloud9.
Well, thanks once again for having me in. And Game 1 really was a thriller, man. 65 minutes it took for Cloud9 to finally put the nail in the coffin for Team Liquid, but now just one game away from remaining perfect in their debut under the Cloud9 name and really showing off what characterizes them in Game 1. I mean, Liquid had that thin lineup, but more than anything, Cloud9 was able to negate two huge factors of how that lineup needed to function. They were able to take Fluff out of play for the most part on the Bane, and they were able to keep TC way, way down. And, you know, I would love, I don't know if Nahaz even has the ability to do so, but you know, whenever it comes to the items, the item progression that TC had throughout that game, it just grinded to an absolute halt. And with the main physical damage dealer, the one hero that was picked largely to try and counter the lifestealer that far behind, there was just pretty much no way they were going to be able to withstand the assault unless he was able to catch up or unless they had remarkable play elsewhere. They got that from Bulba, but in the end it just wasn't enough. Some questionable decisions in terms of splitting up down the stretch certainly cost them as well. But that was Game 1. This is Game 2. Elder Titan and Rubik lead off for Team Liquid, while Cloud9, well, that doesn't take a genius to figure out. You see a Chen, you see a Luna, they want to push, and they want to push a lot of places.
Yeah, what I love about Luna, especially the fact that she's been seeing a lot of bans in the first 1-2, and it's because of the fact that she's a carry that perfectly exemplifies the meta right now, that she's versatile enough to be able to run in push strats, also gives you a big Roshan taking advantage very, very early on, despite the fact that she's a carry. Most carries can't actually give you that advantage, but she's also a good late game carry, so there are very, very few openings that you can really exploit with a Luna draft like this. So it's why she's picked up so early, whereas other carries, pretty much the only other carry that has as much priority as a Luna is a Lifestealer right now. Those two carries right now are the only real ones being seen picked up in the 1-2 consistently like this, and it's because their strengths, they're in the meta right now. It's just the push strategy just works so well with both of those heroes. So right now they obviously have a very, very strong push lineup that is going to be able to take a lot of early tier 1 towers, but we'll have to see whether or not they're going to go a little bit more all in with it, as Team Liquid grab a very interesting pick. They're going to go ahead and grab the Wisp, which I'm slightly concerned about because Cloud9 are already set up really well for just general 5-manning if they want.
Yeah, I mean, when you see a Wisp pick up like this, so much of it comes down to the first 10 minutes of the game. Holding down a Chen, getting something done early on to give yourself all the priority in terms of dictating game flow and what parts of the map become priority and so on. Cloud9 grabbing up the Bad Rider. And, you know, that Bad Rider, yep, I was going to say the next question was, who are they going to pair with it? I really like a Tiny pickup here. Tiny, I feel like Tiny's actually due for a little bit more priority in drafting as this patch shakes out. I mean, you don't really see the blink initiation Tiny like you used to. Mid Tiny, not really a thing. Occasionally you'll see it run duo mid, and that's always an option. But still, just a very strong hero who scales very well into the late game. He has a bit of a peak and valley hero, but IO helps him get over that hump quite a lot. Gives him a lot of mobility, allows him to gank to keep himself ahead in levels and in farm. But once he builds all of his late game's items, he is just an absolute monster and deals remarkably well with melee heroes. The fact that he has craggy exterior makes him a huge influence. Then you could put him with any kind of an initiator. Now imagine already a stomp from Elder Titan, follow it with an Earth Splitter that catches even just 2 heroes, Tiny avalanches after, and starts swiping with that big old tree after a scepter. That's the kind of combo you want if you're Team Liquid, but you're not a one-trick pony. You can also split the map. Elder Titan good at push and anti-push if they want to try and just use him to hold towers while they try to make things happen elsewhere. Cloud9 doing a great job of responding to that, though. Getting the Jakiro, an excellent hero for to deal with heroes like a Tiny. Not always a traditional BKB holder. Usually likes to just get by with even a Manta style. That kind of survivability can build a BKB if he wants. But now with the single target counter initiation coming out of the Bad Rider, the reach once he gets his Blink Dagger to take fights under towers if Tiny gets behind, as well as the ability for Jakiro to just control mass amounts of space with Macro Pyre and with Ice Path. I really like what Cloud9 has done to counterpick. The last picks, though, on both sides are really going to tell us a lot because Cloud9 initially looked like they wanted a heavy push lineup. They sort of abandoned that into a jack-of-all-trades lineup with the Bad Rider and the Jakiro pickup. Let's see what Liquid has to show us with the end of that.
Yeah, with this, Cloud9 had pretty much perfectly addressed the Tiny because this Tiny pickup, the moment Wisp is grabbed, you're thinking automatically about a Tiny. Chaos Knight has really fallen off a board, especially with the Tether now being replaced with a 100% movement speed slow rather than a stun. That has specifically hurt the Chaos Knight Wisp combo a lot more than it does the Tiny Wisp combo. So Tiny Wisp is a little bit more prevalent in the meta right now, and Cloud9 addressed that before Tiny's even picked up. The Bat Rider is a perfect hero versus Tiny because not only is he good disable versus most Wisp lineups, being able to jump in and address that really good support hero, taking him away, taking away that damage reduction, taking away that attack speed increase away by being able to pop the Wisp really quickly, but also the fact that his movement speed slow and attack speed slow coming in with the sticky napalm makes Tiny's life a living hell because of the fact that you don't actually build a BKB very often into Tiny very early on. In fact, a lot of late game Tinys don't build it at all and just opt for pure tank and going AC and the Aghanims and all those sort of things that allow Tiny just to be this big tanky hero. Even if he is somewhat susceptible to a lot of control, he always lives through it and then continues to just beat your face in. However, here, Cloud9 are going to exploit that fact by being able to run two different really good slows. First of all, the Bat Rider being able to absolutely destroy Tiny's movement by being able to stop him from being able to turn and address different heroes at each point in time, but also the Jakiro now being picked up. And this is the part where I really like the new Jakiro support that has risen because of that attack speed slow coming out from his fire, from his new passive. Right?
Yep.
That being thrown in is a huge nerf. It is a huge nerf to Tiny's damage once we start getting into the mid game to late game. So that new, it's not a passive, I said that, but Jakiro's, I'm forgetting the name of it. Liquid Fire, there it is. Liquid Fire, finally I was thinking of it. Liquid Fire being, is absolutely going to destroy Tiny going to the mid game. So I love that pickup from Cloud9, and I think this is where I'm fully in support of the Jakiro support.
Oh yeah, Jakiro, another hero that I feel like is going to be seeing more play. They're going to go ahead and grab a Queen of Pain, too. Now, you don't see too many Queens of Pain all that often anymore. I mean, she's still picked up situationally and so on and so forth. But the interesting matchups here to me are going to be all about Koikva. And depending on where he winds up, I mean, so far as the mid hero for Liquid, you'll see Bulba go mid sometimes. You'll see Koikva go mid sometimes. They really swap in and out of that role. And one of the few teams that does that has two players that they consistently interchange in the solo lanes, the off lane or safe lane farm or what have you. Now, when you look at the Rubik IO Tiny, not going to assume, there's really no reason to guess they would try to offensively tri-lane. They could. It just would be very chancy into this. So what I anticipate it's going to be is a mid Slark against a mid Queen of Pain. Koikva and Sing Sing both are going to be pivotal in terms of what their teams want to do. They need Queen of Pain very desperately for damage and bursts, as well as even a little bit of sustain, while the Luna waits to farm and get her core items up. And they really need Koikva to work well with TC and the IO. If they want to take control of the map and take away all of that nice team fight that we've talked so much about coming out of Cloud9. Now, when you look at Cloud9's damage, until the Luna gets nice and farmed, they are ultra reliant on magic damage, which means early BKBs are a must, be it on the Slark, be it on the Tiny, be it on Bulba. If those BKBs come out when Cloud9 is down, they're going to be hurting quite a lot. So this early game, absolutely influential in terms of both teams. Both of these teams run the risk with these compositions of having their lineups fall apart in front of them. Though, based on game one, we saw just how well either of these teams can recover from being down a little bit. So don't think this is necessarily going to be a quick match. I think it's just going to be another hell of a match to watch.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think that this is going to be a pretty explosive game because even though last game was very long, there was a lot of action packed into the whole entire game. We saw a lot of back and forth, and this game is definitely going to be the same way. We have both sides are looking for pickoffs. Of course, Liquid have that all-prevalent hero that is very, very strong in the mid-game. Slark, who's looking for those kind of pickoffs, and will be able to set up the Tiny Wisp to be able to come in and relocate gank as well. That's going to be them looking for a lot of kills in that regard. However, you also have Cloud9, who have a Bat Rider, and that hero is just constantly looking for those pickoffs, on top of a Queen of Pain. Now, I love the Queen of Pain pickup because it's a really good counter to the Slark. Because Slark, even though you don't actually be able to rely on the Shadow Strike harassment against the Slark 1v1, going into the mid-game, the Scream of Pain and the Sonic Wave, two really, really strong burst AoE abilities that even when Slark does pop his ultimate, he's not going to be safe because they have such good AoE to be able to throw down.
I'm a little surprised already. It looks like Koikva will be heading into the offlane on the Slark. Now, it's not like this is unheard of, but to me, the Slark, I mean, Bulba knows how to run an offlane Elder Titan as well as anyone you're going to see. We saw what he can do when he has a good start with a mid advantage in terms of levels and some early CS, so it's not like it's a completely questionable call. I just feel like Koikva runs a real risk of being shut down hardcore down here, and if he is, he's going to have a little bit of trouble recovering. I mean, when you talk about the items he usually wants to build, get up a set of boots, and then look for usually a Lothar's, a Shadow Blade pickup early on a Slark just really helps synergize well with his passive, his ult, etc. But yeah, the laning phase should be pretty status quo, I suspect. We'll see how active AUI wants to be. He and Pylai Dai are a pretty potent ganking team if he gets the right creeps. But for the most part, expect a quiet early game, but for the action to absolutely explode when we transition into the mid game.
Yeah, right now, I think that what Liquid are looking at right now is why they picked up the Slark last pick, is they see this this tri-lane coming out from Cloud9, and it's not a whole lot of control. You have Jakiro as your only real control with that Ice Path. That's a fairly easy ability for Slark to be able to dodge. So they know they're going to be able to allow him to go into lane, and he's going to be able to pick up a decent amount of experience. That being said, I've never been a big fan of the Slark offlane, and I know many pros who are not. They feel that the hero is easily shut down in lane, and then that turns into him being shut down into the mid game because he's such a snowball oriented hero that if he doesn't have a good start, it's hard for him to really get going. But we'll have to see how Liquid are going to run this because especially with that Queen of Pain on board, if you don't have an early BKB up on that Slark, if you don't have a decent amount of stats up on him, he's just going to be food time and time again.
Could not agree more. And I just flat out like the matchup of a Slark mid versus Queen of Pain a lot more than I like an Elder Titan. Elder Titan, a little bit more survivable, perhaps just based on pure stats and so on. But the Slark pickup, I mean, we can already see how much damage he's going to take here just because of how well zoned he can be, especially now that we see a creep coming out from AUI just to help zone him out. Whereas in mid, at least he would always be an experience rage. And Bulba already being bullied around a bit by Sing Sing. And Sing Sing should do great here. He's at 6-1 currently. Bulba hanging and banging at 4-1. But the kill potential of Sing Sing is only going to get higher and higher as these levels begin to pile up in mid. So yeah, Liquid's laning choices, if they work out for them, they'll be in great shape. But right now, I really feel like this is the early game that Cloud9 wants. They have the chance to influence this and give themselves just a mechanical lead moving ahead.
Yeah, not only do they have a bit of an advantage with the offlane because Batrider can go ahead and jungle, but they have an advantage in mid, and they also have a jungle advantage. That is so much to give up to a team that early. Like, I actually expect Cloud9 to have a good 2K advantage without even any kills going down by, like, the 10-minute mark. Like, I feel they should be well ahead because they've got a Chen, they've got two different lanes that are easily going to win, and in fact, I would even say that Luna should come out in CS higher than Tiny because he's having to deal with some supports in his lane, occasional harassment coming out from the Batrider. Like, he's going to have to address that. Meanwhile, Luna just sits there in lane and occasionally throws out a nuke when Slark gets too close, but she should easily be able to pick up perfect CS in this lane, and I feel that is a better amount that's going to be a more effective use of gold than anything that's picked up by the Tiny. So I'm really concerned right now for Team Liquid's early game. One decent fact is the fact that Bone7, I'm not actually sure if I agree with him actively trying to be in the off lane. Now, it is really good because you're shutting down the Wisp and some of that farm, so you're just sharing some of that experience, but I feel his time would be a little bit better spent in the jungle, but I suppose that's what Chen's jungle area is for.
Yep, and here in mid, we see First Blood taking place. Didn't get there in time. Saw AUI rotating in, but able to chase him down. And Sing Sing notching first was actually gone with a double null talisman build. So in terms of just how, at this phase, whenever you get up 2 null talismans this quickly, he's just in fantastic shape. Second on the board in terms of pure CS. Can actually afford a set of brown boots right now to go with that. And yeah, I mean, just look at his stats. Just because of the null talismans, GG Branches has up a bottle as well. And Bulba giving up the first blood, hurting quite a bit. He's at 10 CS to the 21 of Queen of Pain. So running at about half speed, but that's not going to get any better. That's only going to get worse, especially once she finds her ultimate.
Yeah, I think Sing Sing was pretty happy to see that Bulba was going to be taking that mid, because you can even see that extra level of Shadow Strike. He's really pushing that button, and Sing Sing excels at being able to, in the mid lane, being able to harass out heroes. But that being said, just winning your lane isn't necessarily the be-all, end-all for this game. I mean, in general, like, winning your lane is only so important. Liquid do have a really, really strong mid game, like we talked about over and over again. It's just they have to endure the laning phase pretty much. And a big part is whether or not how early Way2 can get his level 6, and they can start actually having, even if they don't actively get kills with that relocate, at the very least, they have that kind of presence to put the fear in Cloud9 and force them. Wisp is one of those heroes that forces you to react in certain ways that no other hero can really make you react. I mean, a support hero that allows you to pretty much at any point in time gank, that's even more dangerous than anything a Furion can do. So once he has that level 6, he automatically has just that kind of presence on the map that will make Cloud9 be a little bit more defensive, a little bit more passive. But until that point in time, they're really going to push the button. They're just going to harass both of these heroes out of lane consistently. The 2 solos are going to have a very, very hard time in this game.
Just want to point out, Slark is yet to kill a single creep. He's basically just hanging around. He's playing Dear Escher, a walking simulator. He's walking to and from the tower. And Bone 7 looking to make something happen now. He's going to look to dive along with a Dark Troll Summoner from AUI. Helps on the way, though. That's Fluff. They anticipate this, know it's coming. Koikva, 2 points into Pounce and netted after the Ice Path. He will pounce back to help. Let's see what they can make happen. There is no lasso for Bone 7. They're going to be able to kill off the Luna. That's a huge loss for Cloud9. And they're not even going to get a return kill. Liquid just flat out outmaneuvering Cloud9, and that's a little bit of wishful thinking on the part of Eternal Envy's Luna. He just got way ahead of himself and ended up giving a completely unnecessary kill. And more importantly, off of that, Slark gained almost a full level. And now, hey, finally killed a creep.
Well, Koifa is going to be pretty happy with that one. That was just an unusual maneuver by both sides. Like, you don't actually expect Batrider to make those kind of ganks that early on, but also the fact that Wisp and Rubik teleporting into the tier 2. Now, what they did was very, very smart, because Koifa was probably calling, hey, this lane's pushing, and every single time, I mean, it's just the standard right now. When you're in the off lane, and all of a sudden you see the creep wave kind of grouping up, that you have that wave that's going to be coming forward, you know there's a very, very good chance that they're going to be looping around and trying to catch you behind that tier 1. So he probably figured there was a good chance that it was actually going to be Chen coming around in full force. But all of a sudden there's a Batrider there too. I don't know if they knew Batrider was there, but they did know that there was a good chance that there was going to be a gank coming around behind the tier 1 tower, and they countered it beautifully. Shutting down Eternal Envy and getting a kill on him was the best thing they could possibly hope for.
The Mechanics League continues to go to Cloud9, though, and you were dead on the money in your prediction. I mean, when you take a look at the gold graph, they were actually 1,500 gold ahead, and when you factor in First Blood gold and all that fun stuff, it came out to just about 1,000 gold lead that they had generated outside of kills at about 4.5 minutes. But now, a bit of a dent put into that, but it's still continuing to arc upwards. So these lanes are not going the way of Liquid. Now, Liquid does have Tiny on top of the board in CS. More importantly, they have picked up a Midas on him. So going with the Midas, this puts a little bit more pressure on Cloud9 to make their decisions. Well, one, if they want to get a Midas on Luna, they need to get it up as soon as possible. But if they decide to just go ahead and go fighting, now they're under the gun a little bit more themselves. We were talking about Liquid and how they needed to find ways to deal with what Cloud9 was bringing to bear, and the fact that they do have such a big lane advantage and so many advantages in terms of experience gain and in terms of gold game. But now with that Midas pickup, Liquid's TC's a time bomb. You can't just ignore a Tiny that goes Midas. You need to capitalize on it, or run into the fact that he'll be full of items in a very, very short amount of time. They're going to go ahead and push the tier 1, trying to make something happen. We've got Koikva with Fluff and Way2 in position. The creeps from Chen doing their job, trying to zone people off. But with 3 in position and the fact that it is so early, doesn't look like they're going to be able to completely commit to this quite yet.
Yeah, this is beautiful. They're stopping the push, and at the same time, Koifa is also assured that he's going to get this farm and not go down and miss out on a lot of experience. So this is a really smart decision because they can afford to leave TC because TC's a pretty dangerous hero. Like a Tiny, at this point in time, has that big combo. He's dangerous enough against any offlaner. So they slow down that push. It's still going to go down eventually because it is a Luna and a Chen. But they slow it down. They make sure that Koifa gets his farm, and soon he's going to be level 6, in which case Slark, that's like the big hump that you have to get over. So once he has that, it's beautiful.
Sing Sing doing some damage to Bulba. There's a rotation from Liquid, but a little slow. Speaking of rotations, Ice Path shot finds nothing in the woods. A little bit of a missed opportunity there. Almost level 6 now for Chen. Very, very close. In fact, just less than 100 experience away, so a couple of creeps, and he'll have Hand of God at the ready. Bulba, again, suffering a lot here in this mid lane. Did find 43 CS to Sing Sing's 59, which honestly at 9 minutes in is fairly damn impressive. I mean, that's just Bulba just knowing this hero and doing an excellent job against a hero with a pretty innate advantage in the Queen of Pain. But as of now, it looks like C9 is just going to reset. And again, with Tiny having that Midas up, that's going to be paid for pretty quickly. He got that out at a decent clip, so you're talking 8 to 10 minutes, and that's paid for, and it's just pure cheese on top of that, pure gravy. But the big thing is that I like about this pickup on TC in this situation, if he can avoid dying, which is going to be a question, as Batrider is 7, has a lasso ready, not going to follow up off the Ice Path though. But Tiny is one of those heroes that the minus isn't just golden experience. You know, there are some heroes you get a minus and the attack speed doesn't help you that much. It's not that big of a deal in that regard. A Tiny who's inevitably going to get an Aghanim Scepter, it is a big deal to have that. Now we're going to have Pylai die. Well, that's a free death. And that was a little bit goofy. No other way to say it. Do not want to be given TC kills at this stage of the game.
Yeah, he just trying to get to that side shop and pretty much try to gamble that definitely did not pay off. Again, you can't be really getting aggressive against a Tiny like that. So getting caught, and they're also going to be able... Oh, nicely done. Way2 actually picks up the deny in the middle tower. But I was going to say, expect Cloud9 to be grouping up, to be trying to push down these towers because they have nothing to lose. They are only going to gain gold because they get... They have a huge pushing advantage at this point in time, and they also make sure that they're not susceptible to the Tiny Wisp ganks. So I expect them to group up, and in fact, I was kind of expecting them to go top already, even with Eternal Envy, and just kind of 4 or 5 man down that tier 1 tower, just because this is about the time where you're really looking for those relocate kills.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, when you look at Way2, like you said, level 6, ready to go. This is where C9 has to be on their game and execution. They can't drop a stitch. Here we go. They're going on AUI. Oh, the Avalanche missed. And because of that, they're going to be forced to dive very deeply. And they don't know this, but there was a lot of teleports up the top. They probably could have dove that out if they wanted, but instead opting not to. And just holding down mid lane. At top, though, things getting a little hairy, and we're going to see Way2 lassoed out. Fluff just going to have to make a run forward. Way2 dies amidst the fire of Firefly. And... looks like Cloud9, yeah, they're going to continue to group. I was wondering if they were going to try to rotate and try to find something else, but they may just go ahead and take another tower. If they do, that'll be every tier 1 down right around 12 minutes in.
Yeah, again, what do they have to lose at this point in time? They make sure that they don't die to any sort of ganks. They leave Slark to free farm. They leave Tiny was actually mid free farming there, but they aren't going to take a tower. That's for sure. Aui's already protecting it, but even if they were left alone, beating on a tower, there's no way they can match a Luna's sort of that aura being able to give you such a big advantage in pushing these towers. So with a Helmet Dominator already up on Eternal Envy, he starts stacking up Ancients soon. They've already got all the tier 1 towers. This is going to be a very, very big Luna in a very short amount of time. As soon as he has that BKB, it's a huge upgrade to his damage because there isn't a whole lot of physical damage left on Liquid. It's going to be up to Bulba, and it's going to be up to TC to be able to try and pop that hero. Otherwise, they don't really have the best kind of initiation on that Luna to catch her out before the BKB and try and burst her down.
Yep, that's an excellent point. And I really like what C9's doing, just not letting up off the gas at all, just trying to take the jungle away. Look at the warding that they've got down, just stretching from here in mid all the way up through the jungle. This is just a very sketchy area for Liquid to ever venture into, and they're going to figure that out very soon, I'm sure. And we can already see things being drawn on the map, game plans being drawn and such. The mech's almost done on AUI in the meantime. That in and of itself is a gigantic item. Sing Sing almost level 11, so we'll have level 2 ulti available very soon. It's picked up a point booster as well, so Scepter build most likely on the way. And an early Scepter on the Queen of Pain is just gigantic now with the buff that she received in that regard. And yeah, I feel like, honestly, Cloud9 is completely in control of this. Liquid gave up a lot to get Tiny what he got. He's halfway to his Scepter now, a little more than halfway, actually about 2/3. But for the most part, hang on. They're going to try to catch out Pylai. Can they? Luna's there, though, with the Eclipse. TC gets a kill, but may end up dead on the back of it. And it looks like, yes, Cloud9 not willing to chase too much deeper, so very wise of EE to just take what he could and get the exchange. But for the most part, Liquid is definitely on the defensive, on the back foot, and they need to make more relocate ganks happen.
Yeah, that was just beautiful positioning. You look at Cloud9, you see how well spread they are, where they're picking up farm all over the map, but they also give themselves a certain amount of safety, where when Pylai is pushing in that lane, he also has Eternal Envy waiting in the jungle. So when he sees that relocate come in, he throws down the Ice Path, he throws down the Micropyre, just to buy himself a little bit of time, a little bit of damage, and that gives enough time for Eternal Envy to get there, throw down that ultimate, and it's a very, very good way to counter a Tiny Wisp coming in like that. And they guarantee themselves that, hey, we're spreading out, we're farming. If they do try and address us, we'll get a kill for kill.
Speaking of a kill, poor Pylai. No, it's the wrong set of steps to be working up right now, buddy. He just ran into a gank squad of Liquid. That's going to give them a 4-3 kill lead, but taking a look at the gold, again, the efficiency just so much higher for Cloud9, and Liquid has really got to put the pedal to the metal. If they can pick off Bone here, that would be huge in of its own right, and, wow, they just walked by, didn't even try to Avalanche instead, looking to make things happen elsewhere. But I think you make a great point about Cloud9 and their spread. That's really what is giving them the advantage they have right now. They're just so efficient everywhere on the map. They're not sharing that much experience, not sharing that much gold. Instead, they're just taking everything the map has to give them at the moment.
Yeah, and grouping up early didn't really give a whole lot of important things to Liquid. I mean, you already had a Slark who was very, very shut down. He's picked up a lot of free farm since then and has actually gone a Midas. Wow. But at the end of the day, what does a Slark really do for you if by 25 minutes you're 5-manning everywhere? Slark is very much a pick-off hero. He has better team fight since his buff, but hold on, TC's in trouble.
And trying to relocate, will tether to TC and get him away to safety. Heard the relocate charging. Instead, Sing Sing meching through the damage Koikfa can pour out at this point with Dark Pact. And yeah, Way2 did spin relocate, but opted not to use it instead, just helping TC scurry to safety. The fact that TC survived there is kind of a big deal, even though I would argue that's a bigger win for C9, just being able to force him back to the well, keep him off the map a little bit longer. Liquid, though, not going to waste any time. They've got a 3-man team on the way to catch Pylai and Bone 7. The damage here is okay if Koikfa can get off a good Dark Pact. They're going to walk right over top of it. There we go. Pylai caught out. Yeah, that's a lot of burst. In the meantime, there's a lasso, and Bone 7 bit off more than he can chew. Macropyre went down, stolen by Fluff. And yeah, that was kind of a goofy return kill, or bonus kill, I guess. There was no way he was saving Pylai, instead opting to go in with apps. I mean, just look at the rest of the locations for his team. There was no one who was going to get anywhere near that fight. And Liquid now doubling them up, and they're probably going to take a tier 1 off of that. So you're talking about a 1,500 to 2,000 gold swing with those 2 kills.
Yeah, it is something like a spread like this that you may be able to respond to the 2-man ganks, the relocate ganks that come in, but you can't respond to more numbers than that, or else you're just going to throw away more kills. It is a disadvantage when you spread out like this, that if Liquid group up more, if they do 3 or 4-man smoke ganks, they actually get onto a hero, that hero is guaranteed dead. There's no return to be found whatsoever. So they just need to, when that does happen, they just need to be able to pick up more farm in their side lanes, wherever they're farming up. For example, Eternal Envy was clearing a stack at the time.
And a little bit of aggression on the TC. He just finished his Scepter and is level 12, so has 2 points in to grow right now. Back to Sing Sing. He's damn near, he's very close to his Scepter. And we can see he's level 11. Still has not put a second point into his ultimate, however. But with that Scepter nearly done, he's going to be able to pour out so much Sonic Wave damage every 40 seconds. The aggressive potential of Cloud9 with that early Scepter pickup is going to be gigantic. And with Koikfa, as you mentioned, being shut down so much, them dealing with 5-man is going to be tough. Here we go, Eclipse on the TC. He's bursted down immediately. AUI pops the Meg. Bulba throws out the Earth Splitter. And not going to accomplish much. Slowed them down a bit, but Bulba able to scurry away. just barely. Sing Sing still trying to chase him down. There's a Lucent Beam on the Fluff, and see what Fluff got there. Actually managed to get Blink, so helping himself out quite a bit there in terms of surviving. But this is what I worry about, especially with the Midas pickup on Koikva. His combat potential, yeah, he has some nice burst damage with maxed out Dark Pact, but he is just not contributing much else aside from that.
Yeah, this is something that Liquid, they lack any real initiation, that when they do, pretty much it's all on relocate, right? It's all on relocate, so all Cloud9 have to do is pretty much pay attention and respond in kind. So when relocate is thrown behind them as they're pushing into a tier 2 tower, they all, as a 5-man group, turn and fight them. And with the Eclipse pop, they make very, very short work of those 2 heroes who teleport in, who are separated from anyone else. What relocate gangs really, really need is they can't be the initiating factor, especially against a lineup like this, that Cloud9 have so many good responses. They have the Batrider, they have the Luna, they even have the Queen of Pain, who is able to throw down a lot. In fact, Jakiro is another good counter to that.
Sing Sing down at bottom, enough to thwart this push. But yeah, honestly, Liquid, at this point, wow, Slark finally finds himself a kill, and a high priority one at that, teaming up with Fluff to catch out the Luna near the corner of the map. But if they can keep doing that, they're going to be all right. But they are so up against it. They miss with the Avalanche again. The second one TC's missed, it should have been on the mark. Here comes Fluff to help out, though. Mech from AUI, beautiful send back, getting his buddy back home with very, very little health. And Pile Die needs to give his buddy a pat on the back there and thank him for that. Force Staff actually picked up on the Chen, which is, it's becoming more common. It's a little bit of an odd pickup in a lot of cases, but whenever you just need a little bit of extra mobility, be it for you or your team, it's actually an excellent pickup. Oh, what a great telekinesis from Fluff as he came in, lifted, and let the Earth Splitter connect underneath. Bulba, I mean, that's another big kill. Right now, honestly, I was just getting ready to say that I felt like Liquid was letting this match slip away from them, but just like that, they've killed off the 2 highest net worth, or 2 of the highest net worth on the board, and the highest on the side of Cloud9. And that gold graph, it's still heading upwards, or at least trending upwards. But at the very least, they're doing what they can to stop that bleeding. What was an open wound is now just an infected scar. Here we go. Pile Die. Nope, not caught with the pounce either. Ice Path to turn this around helps surely on the way, and it is. Macro Pyro goes down just to make time and buy space, but Eternal Envy was on the way, so wise of Liquid to retreat.
Yeah, Liquid are learning a little bit better from their mistakes. Oftentimes, you kind of just zone in on that one kill. You see that support, and you go, oh, look, that squishy hero. But they paid attention to the fact that Eternal Envy was farming up just recently at that top lane, and also the fact that Shakira was ready to turn and fight. He wanted to force that out because he knew if he could just last long enough, his support would come in, they would pick up a lot of kills. But so really smart reaction there from Liquid, and they are getting a lot of pickoffs, but I think that's a lot on Cloud9. Early on, their spread did them very, very good work, and they responded beautifully to what was going to happen. But then, like, silly things like Eternal Envy getting caught farming up a hard camp on the enemy side of the map with no one around him, you have a Slark. Like, this is the point in time where Cloud9, I'm expecting them to group up a little bit more because the relocate does nothing to them.
What a blink from Bone. Blinked away from a pounce that was in midair and an avalanche that was following it up as well. So very nice reactions from him, getting himself back to safety. Right now, all of the Tier 1s still stand for Cloud9, by the way. The fact that they are still maintaining map control despite how aggressive Liquid is trying to play is really a testament to their ability to move and react, especially when it is an IO Tiny, which is going to punish innately any overextensions and any problems. Now, Tiny is going a pure damage build. He's gone Scepter right up to a Crystallis, so having the help from the IO in terms of attack speed and so on and so forth, that's a big boon to him, but he needs to put that item to use sooner rather than later. I mean, right now he is the highest in net worth, but that won't last forever. Luna's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and in fact is getting very close to a BKB now, only needing another 800 gold to complete that item, as well as a Helm of the Dominator and Drum, so a very well-rounded build on the side of Cloud9. But, again, what's impressive is they've managed to allow him to just round himself out and not go an extreme build or an extreme fighting build without losing any ground in terms of map control. That's really what has them in such a good position right now.
Yeah, I like Liquid are doing the right build. I just feel they lack the big, strong initiating hero. Like, all they have right now is Stomp to be able to lean in that relocate. And here it goes. Once again, Bone 7's going to get picked off.
Earth Splitter thrown out preemptively. That's a haste rune on Bulba, but he's being blocked by Koikva. And in the middle of that, looks like Elder Titan, or Tiny actually manages to pick off Chen. I didn't even see how that happened. I guess he was just out of position there in mid. We were watching Slark and Bulba pursue out on the side of that. But here we go, Bone 7 getting some payback. Fluff lassoed back into an ice path. Macro Pyro goes down, and he's certainly dead. There's an ultimate spent by Sing Sing. He'll be back and available in just 40 seconds. And again, short of level 16, again, if you get a Scepter up that early, it just that buff really begins to be felt. His combat potential through the roof, and a nice return kill to slow down the push coming out from Liquid.
All right, now they took the tier 1 towers, and that's good for Cloud9, but I feel now that the BKB is up, I really think they should be grouping up and taking down the tier 2s. They have every incentive to do so. The relocate still is not that powerful enough. Like, the biggest problem is that you need to be able to relocate in the middle of this team fight with your allies backing you up, so you don't just tank and all that Eclipse damage, and you immediately lose your Wisp, who is such a big factor of the Tiny carry. If you instantly lose your Wisp, your chances are you're not going to win that team fight, because Tiny just starts slowing down, especially when you put in that attack speed slow that's coming out from Cloud9. You get a lot of issues once your Wisp is dead for that Tiny carry. So they need to be able to relocate in a position where their team is actually backing them up. And I like the fact that TC is looking for, instead of that more defensive like BKB build, he's looking for that pure physical damage so he can make sure that when the BKB is up and when Cloud9 try and push in, they do have this pure physical damage that should still be able to pop the Luna if he could just get onto her. That's the biggest issue, is they just don't have that good initiation to be able to ensure that Tiny gets there onto the Luna, gets in, and it's only going to take 2 or 3 hits. If he gets a critical, Luna's health will just drop immediately. I mean, Eternal Envy's done a good job building in his stats, but you can only do so much with Strength Treads, Helmet Dominator, and a Drums of Endurance plus the BKB. It's a lot of health, but it's not enough.
No, exactly. And if that has to be the worry. Hang on, Bone 7 going on TC, and he's just going to be blown to pieces. Got the lasso off, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The Eclipse might be, though. Way Too dies behind the fight, and Eternal Envy playing very patient, waiting on help to show up in the form of Pylai Dai and Sing Sing, getting 2 very nice kills for themselves. Here in mid, they should be able to react to try and thwart this, and Fluff now eating a lot of damage. And Fluff managed to steal. I didn't even see what he got. Not that it matters. He's dead now. Koikfa leaping away, Bulba trying to get away as well. AUI unable to catch up and hit him with Penitence. But, yeah, they're not done. As we see Bone 7 coming out of the woodwork up to the north of this Tier 2. But, yeah, that's a huge pick-off, and now they kind of have their options open with 3 down. Roshan, an option. Roshan will be the choice, and a damn good one at that.
Yeah, Eternal Envy just wants to be able to clean up this last little wave, and then he'll go join the rest of his team, because that might have actually been a mistake, because they only have so much time, especially against the dire advantage side that Liquid have and Elder Titan.
Looking like they want to re-engage off of this. Koikfa coming in. Pylai Dai a little hung up, and to send back not on time. Roche still up. We're going to have a relocate coming in, and disjointed a bit. There's a sonic wave. Caught a bunch. Jesus, what a fling. AUI able to mech through the damage behind that, though. Liquid just going to town. Eternal Envy doesn't have a BKB up, and Bulba able to make it away with about 100 HP. Ends up being a 3-for-2 exchange. They did end up losing the Tiny when all was said and done. But, yeah, I mean, they saved the Roshan. They got a couple of kills. They're able to bring down EE and Sing Sing, the 2 kills they really need in these situations to make it a worthwhile fight. And Koikfa continuing to try and track down poor Bone 7. And those 2 just have a grudge, man. They've been on each other all game long.
Yeah, the 2 offliners just trying to shut each other down, but pretty much it came down to the fact that Cloud9, they didn't have Eclipse there. If they had Eclipse there, that team fight easily would have gone their way. They still tried to force it, though, despite the fact that they only would have really lost supports there. They could have just walked away from that team fight, but they felt they were strong enough, and they do bit of a trade, but it still would have been better for them just to probably walk away. With Eternal Envy going down, that slows down his farm quite a bit. Sure, they killed the Tiny in exchange, but Liquid definitely, I think they made a lot of ground in last team fight, because right now Cloud9 are very, very far ahead. But thanks to that last little engagement, they get a bit more gold on Liquid, and they also get a lot of experience, which is so important for this combo. Tiny is now level 16 and has a Daedalus. This is that big, big hitting Tiny that can one-shot heroes if he's just held up. The problem is again, still, the disables coming out from Cloud9, not only just the pure nukes that they're going to be able to throw down, but also that attack speed slow that's coming into play, and there's no way for Wisp to be able to survive with all this AoE going down, so he's not going to be able to provide that overcharge benefit.
And yeah, I mean, Tiny being as big as he is right now, hang on, Fluff going to be lassoed back, being pulled down into the river and brought down with a little nuke damage coming out from the flame break as well as the test of faith, and Quakefa trying to split push in the meantime. And I'd love to have time to talk about Tiny's build, but he's too busy putting it to use, trying to find Pylai Die. Another big toss, Pylai Die doing what he can. Where Dire actually lost their courier there. Now Wisp is going to end up dead. Here comes Eternal Envy, doing what damage he can with Eclipse. TC still at about half health, caught with another Lucid Beam. Sing Sing's there, has an ulti, doesn't even have to spend it though. And TC dies once again. So TC, for the second game in a row, struggling a bit to put to use the things that he has acquired throughout the early game. He's 3 and 4 on the bad side of the KD chart. And Cloud9, just whenever I think they're going to be giving up too much, they find ways to get essential kills. And if you look at the goal graph, it was actually heading down very close to the 0 line again in favor of Liquid. Instead now, beginning to level off a little bit, and the experience heading back north in favor of Cloud9. So even though Liquid right now feeling a little fragile, they are winning in the metrics, and they do have the kill potential. They're just being outmaneuvered at the moment.
Yeah, pretty much what it comes down to is that Cloud9 are responding much, much better. Like, Pylai Die is such a playmaker. He's defended against so many relocate gangs over and over and over again. He's hit a beautiful ice path right in time as the relocate comes in, and now he has Yules. He's just delaying his death long enough for his allies to come in and clean up. And both times, both at top, well, we see something else.
Looking to move into the pit. Here we go. Quakefa moving in, getting some good damage up. BKB up just in time for Bulba. Sing Sing spinned his ulti, but didn't get a whole lot done with it. Bulba throws back now. It was stolen by Rubik. Sing Sing with a dose of his own medicine being shoved down his throat. Behind the fight, we could see Bulba giving chase to Pylai Die, however. Lassoed by Bone 7. TC, though, going to be in position to try and make him pay for it. Behind the fight, we see Pylai Die still being pursued out. The usage of the Yules that was picked up by that bad rider bought him just enough time to blink to safety. Quakefa going to work on Pylai Die, unable to prevent the TP. But that's a 2-for-0 exchange. More importantly, that's a Roche for nil exchange. As we're all knotted up, 28 kills split right down the middle, 14 apiece. Roshan about to be the next kill, though, and that's a big win for Liquid.
Yep, it was. That's what they needed. It's the initiation there, and it's very, very easy to find initiation with the Elder Titan Stomp when teams are trying to do Roshan, but it was perfect because it set up Cloud9 backing up right into the relocate Tiny.
Sonic Wave spent once again, and Fluff actually manages to survive. The ice path disjointed that, otherwise it could have been much worse. Bone 7 sent scurrying with very little health. Pylai Die right in front of him, and Quakefa's right there to land the pounce. And they are on the run. AUI has to run. Bone 7 ate some of that mech, but AUI being chased into the woods, caught with an avalanche. That's another very nice kill going to TC. Oh, Bone missed his blink. Quakefa might be able to get him. Nope, there's the Force Staff. Put to good use as he makes it back towards the well. In the meantime, the Aegis was popped off of Tiny, as we see the BKB and the Eclipse was spent by Eternal Envy. Nonetheless, not enough to get anything but an Aegis, and may not be enough to save this Tier 2. Yeah,
Tier 2 is definitely going to go down. The advantage of Tiny being that once you are able to win a team fight, towers are sure to fall because of that building damage. So they're going to try and get maybe a pick-off in exchange.
Yep, Quakefa lassoed out. There's a toss and the Sonic Wave to follow it up. You can just see how often he can use that. He will be tracked down behind a good stomp, though. That caught Envy. Envy's in trouble. There's the Earth Splitter and brought down. 60 seconds. He's down now, and he doesn't have buyback. No way for Liquid to know that. They still have everyone but Quakefa up. They are not going to spend any more time pushing, though. Instead, just want to take their win and go get what they can elsewhere. TC, though, transitioning very well. And this is just the reverse of what we saw in Game 1. The top 3 in net worth now all belonging to Team Liquid. And Cloud9, even though Eternal Envy and Sing Sing are both in pretty good shape, they're being utterly outclassed by TC's Tiny. He's now a full one big item ahead of them, sitting about 5 to 6K ahead.
Yeah, and their big opening. This is how they're going to exploit the Luna pickup, is now that they have this big amount of physical damage up on Tiny. This is the time where Luna typically dominates because she has a BKB, and her Eclipse is so powerful that the BKB allows her to last long enough for the Eclipse to do its work, and you win team fights off of that. However, when you have burst physical damage like you do on Liquid, you're able to still kill the Luna very, very quickly, and that the Eclipse is not actually going to be coming into full force if they could just get that disabled, if they could just be able to jump on her. Now they also have the BKB up on Tiny, which makes all those disables that they have useless. So that now this opening between Luna actually going from a mid-game oriented big bruiser with that ultimate and relying on BKB as your defense mechanism into that hard physical damage carry, there's this opening where Liquid are really going to exploit it with this Tiny with a BKB. The Eclipse isn't doing very much to them, and now that physical damage hasn't kicked into play where it has for Tiny. So Tiny's going to pretty much dominate this game for the next couple of minutes, and Cloud9 are going to have to show some of that really good movement in order for them to make in order to control the game for the next 10 minutes. Or otherwise, they're just going to find a couple of pickoffs for Liquid, and then they're going to turn that into going uphill.
I agree completely. Here we go. Bone7 getting the lasso off on ball, but that's a big pick. And did he get it? He actually got Eclipse. He's going to do some damage before he ends up dropping behind that, though. Tiny going to work. Sing caught out, did not use his side device. Before this fight broke out, was actually going to talk about it. There's the toss and Eternal Envy. Cleaned up by Koikfa behind things. That's a 2-for-2 exchange, but the 2 traded on the side of Liquid for the 2 they got on the side of Cloud9. Very, very preferable if you happen to be them. What I was going to say is the 2 heroes that are going to be essential in this mix are going to be Bone7's Bad Rider and now Sing in particular, having picked up that scythe device. They have to account for the big man. They did not do it there. Like, honestly, Cloud9 has reached a point where that lasso and that scythe device should not be used on any hero not named Tiny.
Yeah, and now even the Slark is getting pretty big. He just picked up his Scotty. Oh, they're going to find way 2 here. Bone7 can actually hold him in place.
Way 2, able to tether himself to TC, and it looks like they're going to hang in lane. This is, yeah, they got to be careful. TC is a very angry man swinging a very big stick, and he does not walk quietly.
Yeah, now when with BKB and potentially a Satanic picked up in a short amount of time, his sustain is just off the charts. Now there's nothing they can really do to kill the Tiny quickly.
Koikfa lassoed here in mid, brought back and scythed out. There's the stomp to follow it from AUI, and we can even see that Koikfa is getting tanky with that Scotty pickup as well as the Sanj and Yasha. He took a lot to bring down there. He's now a much bigger liability. They're going to be able to catch Pylai Die once again. Telekinesis into the avalanche, tossed and squished. So another 1-for-1 exchange. And even though that does continue to favor Cloud9, just watching the gold graph get deeper and deeper. In the last 20 minutes, we've seen a swing of about 15,000 gold at this point. And that is just as big a turnaround as you're going to see in that short amount of time in a professional match.
Yeah, this is just Liquid pretty much somehow turning this game around with Cloud9 making a few errors, and they just really capitalized on it. They really pushed the advantage that they were able to gain and are now gaining more map control and getting more and more pickoffs with the smoke ganks. Now, they still have good vision up on Cloud9, and I think that a gem is well overdue for Liquid. If they could just take away some of this vision, Cloud9 have to be so much more scared because those relocate ganks can come in at any point in time, and then you have just regular movement around. Fluff is playing beautifully with this Blink Dagger he picked up. That's another threat that now they have really strong initiation. So they actually have the opportunity to disable Luna, have that relocate come in and chain stun her down and pop her before she can even pop the BKB or the Eclipse. And if they don't get that, they still have the advantage of being able to just flat out kill her with physical damage. Now, we're going to have the Manta style soon, but I'm not sure if I really agree with this pickup because I think Eternal Envy is thinking more along the lines of just drawing out this game and trying to go for split push as much as possible because this Manta, when a big old Tiny's sitting in front of you, man, it doesn't matter if you pop out those illusions.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. I was thinking the same thing. A butterfly pickup might have made a bit more sense, but take a look at TC. TC's picked up a Talisman of Evasion of his own. Could be on the way to a butterfly or on the way to a halberd. We'll have to wait and see. But tell you what I love here. Picked up a Helm of the Dominator. He will most likely transition into a Satanic at some point with the BKB up. Why not? But more importantly, look at that little creep following him around. That's an alpha wolf. He's doing 30% extra damage with every shot. He is absolutely destroying everything he swings at, in excess of 500 damage a shot, with a little bit of attack speed bonus from Midas, with a little bit of attack speed bonus from Treads, and with a whole lot of attack speed bonus when an IO is tethered to him. He is honest to goodness in just about 1 versus 5 shape.
Yeah, they pretty much Cloud9 lost their big advantage that they had, where they got some decent control before BKB was up, and now they've lost that. Now the Queen of Pain is starting to fall off. Yes, the Scythe of Ice is a big pickup, but it's similar to a puck in that, yeah, you're still nuking damage. Like, BKBs counter everything you do pretty heavily. And so if they have to be able to find the initiation on TC or they're going to lose it.
This is what they need. Can they burst him down? Sonic Wave's there, and way too right beside him. They have to burst him down, and they will. Huge pickup. Koikfa now in no man's land. BKB popped by Eternal Envy. Here comes the Earth Splitter. That's going to catch 3. Mech used immediately after, as was Hand of God. Bulba doing what work he can. The return damage isn't there. They did force a buyback out of TC. Coming in to try and make something happen. Stomp on the pylite, die. No, Leap not there. Yule's used, and Chen sends him home very quickly. And honestly, that is about as much as Cloud9 could have asked for there. They got the Tiny. They forced the buyback. And even though they don't get a tower, even any tower damage done, they avoided giving anything up for it. Well played by them. Problem is, they now need to do that probably a half dozen more times.
Yeah, this is. They also had a little bit of RNG in their favor, which case Liquid would have been trying to think, okay, what do we use this buyback for? We go take Roshan. We know that we got some ultimates on cooldown. Might as well force this. Take Roshan real quick. But that's not up yet. That's going to be up in another 2 minutes' time. Now, all of Liquid are going to be up for that, but they're going to have their buyback down. And if they lose that fight, Cloud9 all of a sudden gain such a huge advantage, despite the large uphill that they have to fight up against. That was pretty much the perfect initiation. They have to do that again, though. They have to find that Tiny, because otherwise, with all the damage, you look at that. Tiny's absolutely scary. Like, oh my god, he hits so much. And then you throw down the Elder Titan aura coming into play as well. Natural order, you're one-shotting pretty much everything you come across. But they just have to kite him around. That's what they really need to do, is they either find the initiation or they kite him around as much as possible. And they don't really have a whole lot of abilities to stop Tiny from getting up to you, because the best thing about Tiny is that with the Wisp, he gets really, really fast. So he may not have mobility, and he may not have a natural mobility spell that gets him on top of heroes really quickly, but with Growth and with the Wisp, he runs at near max movement speed. That is going to be able to allow him to get onto these heroes. So when he's BKB'd, he can kill 2 or 3 heroes without Cloud9 being able to interrupt them.
Another lasso spent, this time on Fluff. TC right behind him, but he's not going to engage. And honestly, though, at this point, whenever they spin a lasso on another hero, unless it's Koikfa or TC, I don't even know that it's worth it. Koikfa now sitting on 2,500 HP, 3,500 gold, and just runs in Midases, and just look at him go to work. Little bit of a hopeful rush in there, but with his ultimate to get him out of trouble, why not? Here we go. Oh, Way2 showed up by himself. Did he mess that up? Oh, that's devastating. If he brought TC in there, he probably could have killed 3 in about 4 swings of his tree. Instead, it's 2 down in exchange for none, and they're on the run. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to catch them. But a big missed opportunity, and I didn't see what happened. Could have been a good play, could have been a mistake. Here we go, BKB's up. Oh, Eternal Envy popping his own. Now trying to make a run for it. And Tiny looking for what? Oh, jeez. Pylite Eye eating half of his HP gone in one swing. TC was side. There's an ice path to catch 2 behind it. But they do end up giving up Sing Sing in exchange. And Eternal Envy did manage to make it back home there, so not the end of the world for them, but just over-pursuing a little bit, and Liquid at least getting something in return.
Yeah, Cloud9 did a really, really good job. Maybe they overextended a bit, but they were still able to disengage from the Tiny, just barely. Like, if Eternal Envy had gone down, that was pretty much a big loss for them. But they were able to just distance themselves from the Tiny. As soon as he pops that BKB, they back away, and you could see what is the potential for Cloud9, because after that BKB was down, Sing Sing turns with a Scythe of Ice. They just already lost too much health to actually be able to turn as a group and fight the Tiny and keep him disabled up and just continue to kite him around. So as the BKB charges get lower, this is going to be a harder and harder game for TC to be able to actually find those hero kills and clean them up. But they still have the dominating force and in the next 5 or 6 minutes, and they should be able to control the Roshan, like you saw, they picked it up. They now have the Aegis up on Tiny. And next 5 minutes are going to be the key factor for them to end this game. Otherwise, it gets a little risky. It gets a little risky because the BKB starts getting lower. Luna starts becoming more of a factor, not necessarily against the Tiny. You can't really do really good direct damage against the Tiny, but all the other heroes surrounding him. And that's all they have to do is kill all the Liquid supporting cast and kite the Tiny around, and they're good to go even in the late game.
Speaking of Eternal Envy and Tiny has picked up a butterfly. Bone 7, by the way, picks up a Mask of Madness. He is one fast-moving Bad Rider, no doubt about it. So he's going to have the ability but to lasso TC or Koikfa and pull them way out of position. But again, like, I just, at this point, even ganking, just on the off chance that a Tiny's around, I don't feel like they have the option of spinning that lasso on anyone that isn't TC. And just look at how bold he is now with that butterfly up, knowing that Luna is just going to have her effectiveness completely negated across the board. He's got an Aegis. Can you imagine trying to kill a 2,900 HP Tiny with this inventory twice? It's going to be a tall order, to say the least. Here comes Bone 7, though. He's going to try to do it. He manages to grab out Waitsu. And getting Waitsu could be a big deal. However, there's the mech to help them up. TC going to work and actually frozen. Very nice ice path in the low ground. Nonetheless, Eternal Envy blown to pieces, and now AUI bursted down. And this is getting a bit out of hand. And you take a look at the goal graph. Was moving slightly back in favor of Cloud9 for a moment. They might be able to delay this a little bit. But TC, again, with an Aegis to spend, he's going to have no problem just doing whatever he wants under this Tier 3. And Pylite Eye trying like hell to buy time, but even TC being scythed isn't that big of a deal. Sing Sing drops after being caught with Pounce, and really this game beginning to look like it's over. I mean, they couldn't even kill him once, let alone twice.
Yeah, look at this buyback status, though. I can't believe they haven't done it, but Eternal Envy had a buyback the whole entire time. He's just refusing to use it.
Koikfa ends up finding himself another kill. EE comes back out. And they already lost one set of racks. Eternal Envy, just his inventory just feels like a yard sale. There's a Sonic Wave from the low ground. Almost got that Aegis, but about 20 HP short. But when you look at Eternal Envy, I mean, it's easy to see what he was going for. I mean, he got the Manta style, but again, how effective has that been? Imagine if he had put that gold towards a butterfly instead. At least maybe he'd be able to survive a little bit longer against direct Tiny Assault. But instead, it's TC that has the butterfly. Sing Sing, as mentioned, falling off a bit, has picked up a plate mail. We'll see if he wants to grab a Shivas. That would seem to make the most sense to try and reduce the attack speed of the Tiny. But, yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to see how C9 is going to make their way back into this. Chat trivia, name the only 2 players with 15 or more Pro Dota 2 wins on Tiny. Stats being recorded in July 2012. So, what's your guess there, my friend?
You know, it's got to be Fnatic. It's got to be on Fnatic. They run enough Tiny.
Era for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. After that, it gets a little murky for me. I'm honestly not sure who that second Tiny, what team is really running Tiny enough for them to have Tiny.
I'm going to take a guess. This is since July 2012. I'm going to throw this out there. This is just a total guess. Just when I think Tiny and carries, hang on, TC going to be lassoed. Drug all the way back to the Tier 4s. That movement speed is massive. Can they bring him down? Lots of bonus damage from Penitence. And the Stomp there trying to disjoint it. They are going to be able to finally get the Aegis. Now they have to run and heal and reset, though. Here he comes back up. And the Eclipse saved until after the respawn on the Aegis. BKB's up now. Oh, this is where it gets ugly. And just going to work. Gets a double kill with one swing. And the rest of Cloud9 forced back into the well. Koikfa finds himself another kill. There's the GG. My guess, though, was going to be AUI. Since 2012, I'm going to say AUI.
Well, we'll have to see. Nahaz will throw it up, hopefully in the last couple of seconds. But, man, that was really well done. Nicely done.
Boom skis.
Damn, Ayesee, you're on top of it today. You are on top of it today. But, man, it was I can't believe that Liquid were able to actually take this, considering the start, like the 10 to 15-minute mark. I was looking at Cloud9's lineup, and I was like, they're getting a big advantage in the laning phase. They should be able to turn this into a lot of 5-manning, and I'm not convinced that Tiny is actually going to be able to finish up his items. But TC doing the smart thing here, picking up a fast Daedalus, actually proved to be just enough for them to win the team fights that they needed to. They got a couple of pickoffs. They got a couple of good initiations with Stomp and that sort of thing. And that Daedalus did a lot of work for them just to be able to survive long enough to get that BKB. And once the BKB was up, it's a completely different matter for trying to fight up against that Tiny. So really well done by Liquid this game.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't be impressed enough with them. They gave up a lot in the laning phase, but were able to, just through good item choices, as you had mentioned. I'm really impressed with Koikva. That minus pickup ended up being a pretty big deal, and that had a little bit to do with the way that Cloud9 decided to build their own two big damage dealers, the Queen of Pain and the Luna. Luna going with a bit of a late scaling build instead of a pure fighting build early. Didn't really get a whole lot out of the BKB when it first came out either. Gave Slark time to find kills across the board, to add items like an Abyssal and a Scotty to his inventory, Sanjay, etc. He tanked up, became very difficult to kill. The experience gain and the gold gain that came from the Midas had time to come into effect. And by the end, you can see a combined 18 kills between TC and Koikva. And with TC involved in 20 of the 29 Liquid notched across the board. And even though Way2 I'm still going to guess, I didn't actually have the camera on it, but a little bit of a flub that cost them some, didn't cost them nearly enough. Another excellent game out of Bulbon Elder Titan as well, at 5, 2, and 15, involved in just as many kills by the time all was said and done as Tiny was.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for Game 2. Liquid successfully pushed it to a Game 3. We're going to have a short little break where Ayesee will go ahead and give out the second code of the day for Dota2Lounge.com/giveaway. Put that into your browsers. Go check that site out and be ready. Check out Ayesee's Twitter, at Ayesee, Ayesee. And he's going to be putting out the next code while we get into this next game, and be ready to put in that code as fast as humanly possible over there at Dota2Lounge.com/giveaway, so you could be the first person to take those 10 free rares. Don't go anywhere, guys. We will be back with Game 3 of Liquid versus Cloud9.